Hello, we're going to talk a little bit about grammar and we're going to refer to relative clauses. The function of a relative clause within a whole sentence is to give extra information about a noun which is part of the main clause. We prefer to put a relative clause immediately after, or as close as possible to the noun it adds information to. Relative clauses begin with a relative pronoun. Now let's have a look at some of the most common relative pronouns. These are who, which, that, whom and whose. Now let's see examples for each of these and when we use them. The relative pronoun can be the subject or the object of a clause. For example, when it's the subject, that's the student who got the prestigious award. Or we can say, that's the student that got the prestigious award. When it's an object of the sentence, that's the prestigious award which he got. Or that's the prestigious award which he got. Okay? Now, let's see. Relative pronouns connect and combine sentences. For example, when it's the subject, we can say, this is Richard. He owns the whole building. Richard is the person who owns the whole building. When it's an object, that is Richard's motorbike. I used to own it. That's the motorbike that I used to own. But now it belongs to Richard. Okay? Now let's see more examples. Relative clauses can be classified into defining and non-defining clauses. Let's see. Defining clauses provide extra information, important information, to specify what person or thing we are referring to or which type of person or thing we mean. For example, the notes that you took last week were really helpful. The notes which you took last week were really helpful. Okay, so we can use both that and which. We can leave out the relative pronoun when it is the object, but we cannot do so if it is the subject. Now, please remember that. For example, that's the bread that I used to buy, or we can say, that's the bread I used to buy. That's the person who bakes the bread. Okay? Right, so that's the difference there. Now, let's have a look at non-defining clauses. They provide extra information. They're not absolutely necessary to explain who or what we are referring to. They're separated by commas. That information is separated by commas when we write and a pause when we speak. And this as long as they're not at the end of a sentence. For example, my brother, who hasn't arrived yet, is the one who has the theatre tickets. Okay, now here in this sentence, as you can see there, the second who in the sentence above there is the subject of a defining relative clause. Okay, and the information in between the two commas is the extra information which is called a non-defining clause. It doesn't define the person or the thing we're talking about. In non-defining clauses, the pronoun that cannot be used to introduce a non-defining relative clause. Okay? We have to use the word which, the pronoun which instead. Okay, and that's all for the time being. Thank you. Bye-bye.